Okay, this is Reverend Chris Oldham. It's Wednesday, September 11th, and this is this week's edition of the Chrysalis vlog. And it is basically, hey, welcome back, Jenny. Basically a reporting to you of events of the week, not from a news story perspective, but from a higher level spiritual perspective. It's not what's going on, if you are coming here to get information to put into your mind and cogitate on, then you're in the wrong place. What I'm giving you is the tools to take the information that's coming to you, use them and graduate them up to a different place so that you can look at what's going on down here and see it from a higher perspective and what that means for you and globally. You know, what's going on in the world for the ascension, for our rising up, all of those things. So having said that, my connection is telling me it's unstable, which kind of makes me, I'm like, okay, what's going on? But again, if it runs out, if I get cut off for some reason, just hang in there because I will come back and we will just continue. So having said that, welcome. Today's focus topic is about the gifts in the garbage of life. So what do I mean by that? All right, we all know we have garbage in our life. And I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. We all have plenty of garbage coming to us in our life in different forms. Personal garbage, garbage from family and other things, and, relationship garbage and other things that happen to us. There is political garbage. There is ground level garbage. There's weather garbage. Things that come to us that create upheaval, disrupt our lives, deconstruct our lives in some way. The garbage of life. And when you're in the middle, all of this, it's like, geez, like sometimes we feel like we live in a dump. It's like, what is going on? The garbage of life is, although it seems haphazard and you run around saying, why is this happening? What is going on? What did I do? Why is this happening? A lot of times we like to say, why me? And there is a higher level reason for these things. And sometimes we say that, we think that, okay, even though I didn't choose this, that this was totally accidental, that my team is helping me to get something out of it. Well, since we live in a free will universe, that is true to a degree. But even our free will is influenced by the prevailing energies and frequencies and everything that flows around us. We very seldom pick something in our mind, in our free will, that we want or think or believe that is totally separate from the energies and frequencies that we are enclosed in. It's pretty much almost impossible to do that. So in some way, there is something in the garbage for us at all times. So if we look at the garbage of the last week, and the biggest source of that for the last week actually is Hurricane Dorian. And interestingly enough, Hurricane Dorian became a hurricane on August 29th. And I believe, Susan, up in your neck of the woods, it finally became a tropical storm on the 9th. And that's 11 days. That's kind of significant right then and there. So 11 is a master number, and it has to do with creation, creating things, new beginnings. And boy, if anything was the harbinger of new beginnings, it is Dorian. What destruction that hurricane wrought for the entire time that it traveled up the entire eastern seaboard, starting, in the Bahamas and up Florida and North Carolina and all the way up to Canada. It was crazy, the amount of disruption and destruction that went on with that. Now, even if you didn't wind up in the path of the hurricane itself, as we were going through all of this 11 days, you were being impacted by it energetically. Because and it took me a while to get to the point where I realized that, because I just kept getting hit with these waves of stuff, and I would have to spend time resettling and centering and clearing it all out again, and I'd be fine for a while, and then another wave of stuff would come in and I would go right back down. I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on? So finally, another one of those spiritual slow learner moments, right? It finally came to me that it was Dorian. I keep myself separated from the collective unconscious on a daily basis. And I ask Michael to shield me from it, because I don't want to be fed all of the crap that's going on up there all the time. And when I find myself open to it, I am, and I'm buffeted around by it. The good stuff, the negative stuff, the things that, are helpful, the things that are not helpful, the entities, and all of the other things that are held up there and roiling around in the collective unconscious. I just have no need or desire to be connected to it. So I disconnect myself from that on a daily basis. So, and when Dorian was coming through, I was especially vigilant about that, because all of the upheaval, the poor people in the Bahamas, all of that was creating really negative energies and responses in the collective. So I kept myself separated from that. Not that I don't feel for these people, not that I don't have sympathy for them or empathy, not that I don't pray for their renewal and survival and to come back. Not that at all. But I didn't need to be buried in it. I didn't need a life. One of the first things that a lifeguard is taught is how to keep the person you're saving from pulling you under. And if you get into a situation where you can't keep them from pulling you under, you have to let go of them. You can't allow yourself to go down too, because then you got 2 lives lost instead of 1. So that is how I operate when I disconnect from the collective. Is I don't need to be taken down by all of this stuff. I need to be operating on all cylinders in the light at a high frequency, without having to deal with keeping all of this stuff at bay. So anyway, I was keeping myself free of all of that. So it never occurred to me that Dorian could be the cause of this up and down and these waves of stuff coming to hit me all the time. And I'm not the only one that was experiencing this. I talked about this with a client I had on Saturday. She said exactly the same thing. She could feel it. And the energy of Dorian was cycling around and around and around, this huge, immense, powerful waves of energy that were contained in this, and it was shooting off all over the place. So we were getting hit with this upheaval too, this energetic frequencies and waves of pressure and upheaval, even though we weren't in the hurricane itself, or not even necessarily in a rain band. We were still getting hit by this. And this continued for 11 days as it traveled through. So even though we weren't at the ground level having upheaval and destruction and deconstruction, we were still having it at the energetic level personally here in our lives. So we look at those things and we can say, well, what's the gift in all of that? You know, what is the gift in all of the destruction that these people in the Bahamas are going through? What is the gift of this upheaval and constant waves of garbage that I've been dealing with for the past 11 days? What's the gift in that? So the only way, and if you're trying to figure it out in your mind, you're very seldom going to get a clear picture of that. And I will harp on this until the day that I die. We have to go higher. And I've been harping on this for years and years. I go back in my Facebook posts and I find Facebook posts from 10 years ago where I'm saying the same thing. We've got to go higher. We've got to look at spirit. That's where we have to be. So if we look at this higher level, what's the gift in the garbage? Well, sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like a gift. Trust me, I know. All of these people have absolutely lost everything in the Bahamas. There's 70,000 people who it's not, they just don't even have homes. They've got no place to go to. There's nothing there. You know, at least one of the islands is still underwater days later that people are wading through, getting from place to place. But what is it that's going on? So all I can say is that it's similar anytime that we have a situation where this huge loss is going on, where people are losing everything, where there's destruction and deconstruction going on. It is a period of rebuilding, and we're not talking about just rebuilding on the physical plane. We're talking rebuilding from the soul plane. Is beginning to see things from a different perspective. We're moving into a place where we value things in a different way, where we're not as attached to stuff or the way things were. We start looking at, okay, first things first, what's really important here? What do I really need at a physical level? And for these people, it's going to be the physical food, clothes, housing, someplace safe to be. But from there, where do we go? What is this all about? What am I here to learn? So I can tell you from my experience of having lost everything a few times in different levels and stages of things, is it was really a separation from the past and the energies of the past and the energies and the relationships that I had with all of those things that I lost. What did they really mean to me? What was the energy that they were carrying? Was this energy that these things were carrying beneficial to me? Probably not, because they were carrying the energies of an old life that I was being guided out of and away from it into a new life and a new way of doing things, a new way of thinking about things, a new way of connecting and a new feeling of connecting with my soul. And this is one of the things that I realized, say, another, gift in the garbage in 2008, when there were like 16 million people in this country being laid off when we had the recession, the banking and real estate recession that came in. 16 million people. And I can't tell you how many I have spoken to and heard from who shared the same experience that I had, is that we were let go. We were dumped unceremoniously, in some cases, out into trying to find another way to support ourselves, and realizing as we did that, as we looked at what we wanted to do and what was out there for us, one, the pickings were slim to none. You could put in resume after resume until the cows come home and never, ever hear from anybody. And the other factor was looking at what was available, and just part of you going, no, I can't do this anymore. My soul won't let me do this anymore. And just feeling really resistant to the things that came up, which bore any resemblance to what you had been doing before. Your soul just said, no, you can't do this anymore. And so we were given the time and the means and the desire to dig deeper and find out, okay, what do I want to do? That's how I wound up starting out being a Reiki master, moving from there to the angels, then to the angel ministry. And all the time expanding and building my relationship with the angels, and my healing and my ascension and my spiritual knowledge, wisdom, you name it. That's how that all started, how I came to be on that path. And my being fired from my job was a necessary element of that, because before that, my plan was to stay there until I retired. My team had other plans for me. My soul had other plans for me. So this is part of the gifts in the garbage. What is the gift? Well, the gift is I was shown onto this glorious new path. Now, was I tickled to death with this? It's like, yeah, I was, because when I got into the Reiki, it was like duck to water. When I got to angels, it was like duck to water. Our souls always lead us where we need to be. Sometimes we go kicking and screaming because we're really attached to the old way of doing things. We don't want to let go. And mostly it's because we're afraid of, what the heck is this? What are you taking me toward? No, I'm comfortable back here. Oh, sorry. You're going to be uncomfortable for a while. And you just sort of have to surrender to it. But when we look at, the gifts in the garbage with Dorian, it's much the same way. Whether you were at ground level experiencing destruction, or you were receiving these energetic waves that were creating upheaval in your own systems that you have had to deal with, all of that was bringing up stuff. It did for me, brought up things for me that I had been dealing with, that I thought I had under control, and not under control. That's a bad way to put it, because I don't want to control anything. I want to release, which I thought I had released, that I was done with. Spirit said, not quite. You got a little bit more here to go. Or it uncovered other things that I had allowed to come into my system unknowingly that were really giving me grief and creating, I don't know, lack, loss, things I didn't want in my life, were hindering me in a big way. And I didn't understand, I didn't realize that they were there, right? Sometimes this stuff comes in and we get buried in it and we don't see it, or it's allowed to hide. So I finally became aware of that with all of these things coming in. So those for me were the gifts in the garbage. It's similar with all of us. If we care to look, we can stay at ground level and be miserable and moan and groan and whine about, why me, and why is this happening, and oh my God, how am I going to survive, what am I going to do, what the heck is happening, all of this. We can sit down there and do that at that level, or we can rise up to a higher perspective and get some input and knowledge about what the heck is going on. Why is this happening? Because we all know that none of this happens in a vacuum. It isn't just haphazard or random, that there's something going on in the upper reaches and the higher realms that is triggering this to happen. And the sooner we can get up above to get a better perspective, the sooner that we can release a lot of the fear and angst and resistance to what we have to deal with down here at ground level. For me, one of the prime examples of this. Now, most of my life, I have been able to see from two perspectives. Don't know why, just one of my gifts. I've always been able to read the patterns and things in the higher realms. And when I was going through my divorce, my ex had left, everything was in a total state of disarray. And things just kept happening. It was like all the pillars of my life just kept on going knocked down, one after another after another. And I was in this constant state of what the heck is happening? What's going on? But at the same time, once I started noticing the pattern, I was like, wait a minute. And I could see from a higher perspective that these pillars of my life were being knocked down because I had a false foundation. And in order for me to move forward in my life, all of this stuff had to go so that I could rebuild on a sound foundation. But there was no quick fix for that in the physical world. It took a lot of time and a lot of angst and a lot of emotional upheaval and release and learning and, just all of those other things. But understanding from that higher perspective what was happening and why was the difference between me forging ahead and just dealing with what came at me the best way I could, and me lying in a fetal ball somewhere in a corner, totally dysfunctional, because there were times it was that bad. That's what kept me moving forward. So when we look for the gifts in the garbage, it's not just for us to say, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's really what's coming. Cool. And know that it's coming the next day or the next week or whatever. No, having the gifts, being able to see and understand the gifts that are in the garbage of life for each one of us and for us globally is part of being able to move through the sludge and the crud and the stuff that we have at ground level that we've just sort of got to move through and out of the way to become less attached to it as much as possible, to become less attached to this ground level process in the physical plane, and to just move through it, to do what we need to do what we can do, understand that it's just part of what's going on for us to get from point A to point B. And only our soul really knows what point B looks like. We are just knowing that this is what we have to go through right now because our soul is saying it's time for us to go from point A to point B. And this is what it's going to take to get there. So that is Hurricane Dorian in a big way, and life in a big way. The gifts in the garbage. We've also had, we've had the 9/9 portal on Monday, and there were a lot of things coming in there since the, and then we're in Leo for the last 3 weeks, the sign of Leo, the lion. So there is a lot happening energetically, a lot of energies coming in that are bombarding us. And of course, we have the energy, the collective energy of 9/11 going on today. And that also, as much as it is a U.S. event, it also has global repercussions because the entire world was, pretty much was just shocked. Totally, just emotionally, what the heck just happened? Because it wasn't just a matter of, oh, there's a terrorist attack or whatever it winds up being determined to be. It was just watching it happen. And it was so fast. In less than 2 hours, we went from the first plane hitting the first building to the final collapse of Building 7 in less than 2 hours. And that stunned everybody to see the immensity of what was going on. So it was a global event, and it had global ripples of all kinds coming in. So when we connect to this anniversary every year, we connect to the after effects of those ripples and those energies. And we have, we need to just sort of come into our own place of dealing with them according to our own beliefs and our own memories and what we were doing. It was, everybody who was, I would say, older than 10 years old probably, knows what they were doing at the time that happened. They remember what was going on. They may not have known right that moment that it was happening. They may have been on the way to work and not known it and got into the office and everybody was like, oh my God, did you see? And they were like, and known, what was happening, what was going on. Very much like the assassination of President Kennedy when it happened. My mother came and picked me up from school that day. She never did that. But she did it to make sure that I was safe because she was afraid. So 9/11 is here today. That's what we're commemorating this day. And I've said my blessings to the souls of those who are departed, which really, they're good, but our blessings and our prayers need to be for all of the survivors and all that have struggled, all that are dealing with emotional fallout because of it, whether they were there or not. All of us who witnessed it that are still in emotional turmoil about it. Just saying the prayers for that. Is focused there. And, you look at the gifts in the garbage of 9/11. Well, at least for a time, it brought this country and everyone in it back together in a way they haven't been for a long time. There are forces which have worked overtime to take us away from that and bring us back into a state of divisiveness and separation. But that's being reversed. Because as we raise higher in vibration, that can't be anymore. Because there's a part of us that says, this is nuts. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Don't tell me I should hate my neighbor simply because he thinks differently, looks differently, or acts differently than I do, or believes differently than I do. No. I didn't hate him before you started telling me this. I'm not going to hate him now. Forget that. And I see that happening in stories all over the place. That's coming to pass. That will be part of the cleansing that's going on. Another part of the Hurricane Dorian cleansing and the other storms. There's other storms coming. And I won't even too much go into it, but there are stories and indications that Dorian was under human control and steered by microwave beams. Those are stories that have come up. The stories that I've seen have not been disputed so far because there is visual radar evidence looking at what's going on. So then there's another part of the mystery. But all in all, whether you can say it was because of this or that or the other thing, the upper level reasons and causes in the etheric plane are still the same. So that's enough on Dorian with that. So then we get to, what are the other gifts? You know, what about our personal garbage? You know, a little bit more. How do we find those gifts? Where do we come into being able to see from that dual perspective, like I shared with you that I've always been able to do? I've been able to see what's going on down here, but another part of me could see from a higher perspective of what was going on up at that level, what was being done and why, and the patterns that were taking place. And so what we're going to do here today is we're going to move into the temple here, and the Angel Paschar, who is the angel of vision, is coming in and going to help install in you that ability, not just to install that ability in you, because most of you already have it, but to illuminate it, bring it into conscious awareness, to install a trigger that allows it, you know, when you see what's going on down here, that a part of you is already looking up there, and for you to consciously receive that. So you get that dual awareness of what's happening. This also comes in handy when, you know, help you keep from being deceived. You know, it's a part of your discernment mechanism that you have. So let's go into the temple now. Before we do, I'm going to, if anybody has anything they want to add or say before we go into the temple, just unmute yourselves or raise your hand or put a comment in the chat box. We all good? Okay. Let's go into the temple. Almighty and Most High Father, Mother God, divine source of all it is, and light of the great central sun, I welcome you here with us this day, Heavenly Father, and to the Heartlight Temple of Angelic Healing, as I invoke it to surround all of us here now, whoever will be watching this video, and above and below, in this sacred space, for the work we are here to do. And to protect us from all interference with that work. I revoke permission for any of this interference occurring now or at any time during this video and during the work we're about to undertake. Thank you. Okay. I intend that this temple shall remain present fully functional in creating and surrounding this sacred space for the work we're about to do, now and continuously throughout the remainder of this session, being released only 10 minutes after I end the Zoom session for all of us. So be it and so it is. There's some really resistant attachments and energy to somebody who's going to watch this at some time in the future. I don't know if any of the rest of you felt that or not, but we're going to clear that out too. Beloved Archangel Michael, I call upon you now and I ask that you surround this temple space and above and below, surrounding all of us here now, whoever will be when they watch this video, whose space is being held by their higher selves and guardian teams in this circle. Please protect this temple and the space within from all that is not of the light or in service to it, from all that is of entity, origin, intent, creation, design, or purpose, or in service to such, from all that is other than in service to our highest good, and from all that is in other than complete agreement and support of the work we're here to do today. So be it, Michael, and so it is. I ask, Michael, that you maintain this protection of this temple and all within, now and continuously, as long as the present is temple here surrounding us this day, or at any day, as long as it's here and surrounding us. Thank you. Now, Michael, please cut from all of us and cauterize all cords and connections that do not serve the purposes of this session or Paschar's work. In all of our names, I revoke permission for these things to be connected to us. I cancel agreement and authority from anything else sponsoring them. So be it and so it is. Take all of these things, Michael, outside the boundaries of the temple walls that are being maintained throughout this session, as long as the temple is present here. And beyond, if they do not serve our highest good. And please clear from us everything sponsoring these connections that do not serve us, including any entity attachments and works. I give these no authority over any of these people, and I invoke my authority over them and command them from us. In the name of the one true God, divine source of all that is, in light of the great central sun, and by the power of the third heaven, I command you, get out. Take these things into the light of the great central sun or into the vortex of divine source, Michael, for divine dispensation. By the will of the one true God, so it is. Thank you. Please cleanse the space within this temple, Michael, and in which all of us inhabit, clearing from this temple and its space anything that remains which is not in service to the purpose for which I have invoked the temple this day. So be it and so it is, or would interfere with it. Thank you. Okay. I call now upon the beloved angels, archangels, ascended masters, beloved Jesus, Mother Mary, Holy Spirit, higher selves, guardians and guides of all who are assembled here now or at any time in the future, whose space in the circle is being saved and held for their guardian teams and higher selves. Michael, remove the entities that are attacking and attaching to these people and remove the source of them from wherever they are coming. I revoke permission for these entities to have access to anyone in this temple at any time that they are watching this. Please remove these entities and keep them outside of this temple, Michael. Shield, defend, and protect from within and from without. Sever these connections. They are not allowed through your protection or through and into the temple, no matter what. And perform the purification and protection protocols on all of us, please, now. Taking everything into the light. And so it is. Thank you. Okay, I call now upon beloved Angel Paschar for you to come forward. Thank you, dear one. Thank you for your presence here with all of us. And thank you for the work you're coming forward to do for us today. Whew, his presence is strong. He is ready to go. Wow. All right, beloved angel. I am surrendering the floor to you. And all of us here, if you are willing to receive that which Paschar is here to give, then all you have to do is say to yourself now, yes. Okay, Paschar, I surrender the floor to you. Go ahead and do what you're here to do, dear one. And clear from us anything interfering with our psychic channels first. Yeah. And our discernment and ability to receive. Yes, thank you. Yeah, somebody has a block, or did, at the soul star chakra level. This is pretty normal when we have entities or discarnate spirits ghosts around. They tend to hook into the soul star and then they wind up blocking divine connection through that. But I'm asking now for Michael and the angels to take these things from us. If there be any discarnate spirits, they need to be taken into the light. For divine dispensation, according to the will of the one true God. They are not allowed to remain here in the temple with us. So be it, and so it is. And disconnect them from us in all ways, energetically, spiritually, psychically, and mentally. And send them on to where they need to be that is not here with any of us. Thank you. Please cleanse us of their presence, beloved ones. Michael, remove any entities attached to these spirits and disconnect us from the source from which they are coming. And please close all connections to the 3D timeline that are coming up now. And sever our connections to it for the time in which we are in the temple, and so it is. Thank you. Okay, beloved Paschar, continue with your work. Thank you. Um, right. So if any of you are feeling this and feeling any resistance in it, what I'm getting is that there are some entity created programming that has corrupted the mechanism by which we would normally be doing this bi-level perception. And Paschar is clearing that out now. Because most entities feed on misery and what makes us more miserable and keeping us in the dark, so we have no idea what that's going on. Timeline programming. Yeah, apparently there's some also corruption of our timeline programming. Our timelines, as they're created, are programmed with the things that kind of apply to us throughout our timeline in our lives and at different stages in our lives um, to keep us on track. But other things get programmed into our timelines that do not serve us. And for sure is clearing these things now, which are hindering our ability to see from this higher perspective. Not just hindering our ability to see from the higher perspective, but hindering our desire to see or our remembrance that we have this ability and we could see. So this goes a lot of different ways. So there's a lot of really strong clearing out going on here. So for any of you who are viewing this after its creation, some of you are having really strong energetic responses. Have no fear. This is working in your favor, so just hang in there. If it's something new to you, trust that it is of the light and bringing you into a far better place than you are now. All right, everybody take in 3 deep breaths to anchor what Paschar has done so far. And bring in light through your crown when you do. All right. So now Paschar's work is centered on previous was preparing the mechanism and making it fully available to us. And now he's bringing and clearing our conscious awareness, opening us up to conscious awareness of what we're receiving through this channel. And clearing away the resistance and everything sponsoring it. In all of our names, I revoke permission for anything offering resistance to this. And I revoke its authority in all of our domains. These things have no authority over us. We give them none, so it is. Connections opening, pathways deepening. I'm feeling it move all the way down through our necks, down into our throat chakra. And heading down into our heart chakra. All right, so now I'm being instructed to ask you to take 3. Oh, hey, James. 3 breaths. And Courtney, hello. You can catch up. I'm just going to put you on mute. If you're just arriving here, I'm going to ask the angels to catch you up with Paschar's work. All right, so I'm being asked for those of us who haven't just joined or who have gotten through this part of it that Paschar is doing, to take another series of 3 deep breaths, only this time when you do pull the light in through your heart chakra. Okay. Ooh. Boy, Paschar is cleaning our clocks. He's heading down now below the heart chakra, so he's going to keep going. Opening us up. You might think, well, why would he need to open us up all the way down through here? Well, when we are seeing something, it involves every part of our being has to be available to interpret, to see, to understand. And every part of us has to be aligned with and in support of this and not blocking it in any way. So that's why he continues the journey down. Down into the sacral chakra. Ugh. Sacral chakra is like the worst place for resistance. There's so much going on down there. Now heading to the root chakra. Lots of light coming into the root chakra. if you're feeling physically impacted in that part of your body, and you're not used to this, understand that that's normal. Don't think anything of it. Just allow it to work through. All right, do we need to breathe into the root chakra? Yes, we do. Okay, so once again, 3 deep breaths. And breathe in through your root chakra. Breathe light into your root chakra. Pull it in. Holy moly. Whew. So we are at a well-lit channel. Ooh, baby, all the way down. There are parts of those here that may have never had the light reach into these places before because they've been blocked and wounded. Not anymore. Healing programs, Paschar. Yeah. It's clearing programs from our medulla oblongata, which is where the autonomic nervous system is and where our automatic responses are and programs live. And there have been some automatic response programs encoded into these places in us that are blocking this ability to see and perceive from a higher level. I'm getting that he's not just clearing from us our ability to see, from this higher level. He's basically opening up our psychic abilities and receiving big time. So just sit and flow with it because he's clearing out this automatic programming that's getting in the way. It has come from sources of false light, come from the dark grid that we were programmed with when we were born. It's coming from collectives and matrices and other people. He's just clearing it all. Some of this also comes from electronic media, social media. It's programmed into us. TV, not so much, but mostly like social media like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. All of these things impact us, and these things get embedded in our energy fields, which then block us again. And so Paschar's removing them now. Paschar, if you could put in some kind of protection or immunity for all of us that would not allow these external forces and sources to restore any of this to us or bring it to us again in any way, that would be wonderful. And for those of you who don't know, I do spontaneous toning when I am in flow with the angelic realm. And that was major heart chakra toning. Whew. Thank you. Part of that had to do with our causal chakra, portals, nodes, and attachment points. And that protective and immune process or configuration that Paschar installed. All right, Paschar. So now what? Oof. More blocks, resistance. All right, so all of you here now or listening now, just please release any resistance. Consciously say, I release all resistance to this process so that you can let go and Paschar can complete the work that he's here to do for your benefits. In all of our names, I intend and ask that we are also releasing all sources of our attachment to this resistance, giving them no authority in our domains or over us. They do not speak for us ever. So it is. And even in our timelines, timeline programming and oversouls. Thank you. All right, so we're getting another straight shot down through here. Down through our central channel, our prana core, whatever you want to call it. Holy moly, Paschar, you're just cleaning our clocks, aren't you? There's so much that's involved with our psychic perception and abilities. It's pretty much all of us. You know, it's kind of like every cell in our body has psychic receptors of some kind for reasons of maintenance. So it really is quite amazing. We really need to be connected to all of this instead of blocked from it. Does this mean we don't need boundaries? No, it does not. Totally different thing. That's why we have psychic receptors. so we can filter stuff that we don't want. For those of you watching, not at the time this was recorded, this is source energy we're dealing with. So it is not the gentle energy that you might have experienced through Reiki or other healing modalities. This is source creation, the source of creation energy. This is what's going on here. That's why it's so strong and powerful. It may not always feel fully pleasant as it does the work that it's here to do, deconstructing and reconstructing, and recreating as need be. Whew. I'm going to tell you, this is a whole lot deeper than I expected we were going to go, but Paschar is here and this is what he's come to do, so go with the flow. Thank you, Paschar. Okay. So Paschar, is complete with what he came here to do as far as resetting everything, reconstructing, bringing it back online, so to speak. But now it's time for us to actually experience it and to use it. So, all right, so I'm going to take us, first thing I want you to do is think of some kind of upheaval that's going on in your life. Some of the garbage, all right, that you're sifting through right now that's happening in your life. I want you to think of that. And I want you now to just take in like 2 deep breaths and pull light in through your crown and into your third eye. All right, so now you're thinking about the stuff at ground level, and I want you to switch your perspective now to seek to see what's going on at a higher level. So you wind up kind of in a dual perspective. You're connected to what's happening at the ground, the upheaval and the garbage that you're surrounded by, which you're focusing on. And then also at the higher level, you're seeing either clearly or getting a sense of or a message of or clear cognizance, whatever your talents are, you are seeing the higher purpose in all of this for you. So sit with this for a minute and allow it to work. Stop trying too hard. Release, open. Take a deep breath, blow it out, relax into it. And just allow Paschar to guide you into that upper place and that upper knowing. And feel the energy shift, feel the mental energy shift. Again, release resistance, stop trying too hard, just allow. There we go, somebody broke through. Ooh, there we go. Paschar, is everybody through? Awesome. Is everybody seeing from that higher perspective? Wonderful. Awesome. Okay. Has everybody received what they're going to receive, Paschar? Is everybody cognizant of that? All right, thank you. Wonderful. All right, so I'm going to open up for sharing as much as you'd like to share with us what it is, your experience of seeing, and if you have seen and understand what it is that you have seen. Just for an example, I was asking to see the current situation that I've been in, that I was talking about earlier. And the vision that I got was of just a broom and dustpan, sweeping up stuff and just chucking it out, sweeping out stuff, chucking it out, cleaning up. So that was the vision that I got. So, that was why I giggled. So what are you all getting? What do you want to share? Either you can unmute yourselves or you can put it in the chat box. Either way is wonderful. Take a couple of conscious breaths so that you sort of come back into your mind and to the present a little bit. Just take the breath and blow them out through your mouth. There you go. So who wants to share what they've got going on, what they saw? Did anybody see anything? Paschar says you've got it, so. Nobody? What about you, Mary? Did you get anything?
I did, yes.
Okay.
What I saw was, I don't know how to describe it. I was looking down and saw, okay, let me describe it this way. You know, like the Kuiper Belt, how you see the debris?
Like the what?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, like the Kuiper Belt.
What? Say it slower. I'm not understanding what words you're using.
You know how you will see swirling debris that's going, that is moving, like you see
Okay.
around the planets.
All right. Got it. Got it now. I kind of thought that's where you're going, but it wasn't registering in my mind.
Right, but it was more of a swirl.
Mm. And did that make sense for the situation you were inquiring about?
Yes, but I think there's more for me to figure out.
Okay. All right. Well, good. But the important part was you now have that pathway established to get to, and you know what it feels like, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Anybody else want to share what they were shown? Courtney?
Hi, Chris.
Hello. Mhm.
Hi. I can't necessarily say I saw anything like,
Mhm.
but I felt something profound, like kind of like an opening in my third eye. Something became very, suddenly everything in my head became, I was like, are my glasses really heavy? No, it okay. So there was a definite feeling of like, whoa, it was like all of a sudden I was like in like the deepest, most pleasurable meditative state.
Mhm.
So maybe that was what I was meant to see, just that kind of um, empty space, but with a feeling of everything is perfect.
Awesome. Now, did that make sense to you based on what you were asking about, inquiring for?
Well, you know my current situation, so it works,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like,
Awesome.
that totally works. I mean, I did have a quick image of me sleeping in my bed alone, but then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden everything went dark, and then it was just more of a really like a physical opening deep in my third eye, maybe my pineal gland. I'm not sure, but there was something that opened there that made almost like a profound relaxation
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. I didn't want to come out. Just
Good.
saying.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to share? Jenny, Susan, James? We're good? Okay. Oh, okay. James said he got interrupted because someone came into the room. That's okay. You can always go back to it later, James. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So let's go ahead now and we'll just sort of, we're going to thank beloved Paschar for his service to us today. A huge service to us today. Whoa. And all the other angels and masters that have come in to be with us in the temple this day and to support us, along with our own guides and higher selves and our guardian teams. We thank you all. Heavenly Father, we thank you as well for this service to all of us today. As let's take some more deep breaths. Let's come fully present into the present, into ourselves, into our bodies, and just just take some more nice breaths. Just because there was a lot that was done. So we need to take time to integrate that and come into it. So I am going to call in the angel Charmian to come into each of us and bring us into harmony, restore harmony to all of our systems, and to help us integrate what Paschar has done here today, so that we can do this easily without a lot of after effects and that might normally come with the healing of this depth. So let's bring us into harmony with all of it, clear from us all other remaining sources of discard. Yeah, there we are. Thank you. Hearing what sounds like thunder rumblings outside somewhere. So we have storms moving in. So the timing is perfect. All right. Take a couple more deep breaths, move around, come into yourself. And beloved Archangel Michael, I ask that you place your cobalt blue light sphere protection around each one of us now, to shield, defend, and protect us as we fully integrate all that has been done here today. Now and for the next 24 hours from now on our timelines. So be it, in the name of the one true God, divine source of all it is, and so it is. And remove from us everything in resistance to your presence and your shield of protection, Michael. Thank you. All right, everybody. If no one has anything else to add or say, we're going to go ahead and get done here for the day. And I thank you for your presence here. And I hope to see you on a YouTube Live sometime soon. See ya.